we take another look at that live shot from the Century Plaza Hotel and Spa on Burrard Street. Dr. Heer is here. We're talking about how to bring romance back just in time for Valentine's Day, which is next week. Heads up.
Yes, and we're dressed for it.
I know, we're matching. Isn't this lovely? Totally by accident, too. All right, well, that means that some magic has to happen here.
Exactly.
We're going to inspire some people to bring the romance back into their relationship. The first tip that you have, though, I know, is about actually not spending time together.
I know, isn't it great?
Yeah.
It's kind of a pattern interrupt, you see it. But my suggestion is spend the day before Valentine's Day apart and then Valentine's Day together. Why? Well, we all know absence makes the heart grow fonder. And, you know, so many relationships, we spend all of our time together. If you take a day for you and your partner takes a day for them, and by the way, you handle all the little details like who's feeding the dog, who's taking care of the kids.
Dr. Heer, I was going to say, if I tried to do this with my husband, I know what would happen next. I'd be sending texts about how to take care of the kids if I'm hiding away somewhere else. So.
Exactly. But that day you make sure everything is handled. And the texts that you send are texts of gratitude, texts of love, texts of adoring your partner. And then on Valentine's Day, when you get together, there's been this space where you each have sort of done your own thing and gotten a sense of you again. And this is what the greatness of our relationship, when you can be you and I can be me, and it creates that space where you have even more gratitude on the day itself.
And sometimes those lovey-dovey texts, those texts of appreciation can turn into a sort of foreplay for the romance on Valentine's Day, which is lovely. Moving on to another thing that I know you're a big believer in, and that is giving back. But how can giving back to let's say the community really help your romantic life?
I know, it's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, you know that thing that happens when you gift to somebody for no reason? How your heart opens up, you feel like you get this big smile on your face and you don't know why, it just feels so great. Well, if you did that together, so for example, volunteer at a soup kitchen, volunteer at an animal shelter or a homeless shelter, whatever it is for you that speaks to you, what happens is you have that heart opening, but you have it together. And then you have this experience that you can talk about really for the rest of your life about how wonderful it was to contribute to others.
But I would get that same sort of feeling if I volunteered with my sister or my best friend. So how does it create romance if you're talking about doing that sort of thing with a romantic partner?
Well, what happens is this, once again, is sort of that pattern interrupt idea. Because when we're in a relationship, we sort of go along on this path and we're walking along, going along together, doing this, sort of the same thing day in and day out a lot of times. What this does, it changes it, and you get to see a different side of your partner, and you freshen things up.
All right. Let's talk about gratitude. I know you're also a big fan of gratitude. How does that come into play if we're talking about creating romance before Valentine's Day?
I'm going to say that's actually one of the biggest things that there is. And, the reason people say write gratitude journals. Why? Because, once again, it opens up your heart and opens up you to receiving. And what happens is we can either have judgment, which creates the walls of separation, or we can have gratitude, which creates closeness. And my suggestion is write down a list of everything you're grateful for your partner. Like everything you can think of. Print it out. If you have nice handwriting, unlike me, write it down on a piece of paper or several pieces of paper, or print it out. Give them that in the card that you give them for Valentine's Day as your Valentine's Day gift. And then the other thing I suggest is from this day forward, find at least one thing you're grateful for about your partner and tell them every single day. And maybe it could be 10 things or 20 things. But that energy of gratitude keeps the connection there instead of building up separation. And it's a way of keeping the relationship strong continuously.
So another way you can keep a relationship strong is not only by, spiritual and emotional things, but what about your body and really getting your physical, prowess ready for a romantic day?
Exactly. My suggestion is lose your mind, focus on your body. And do this during Valentine's Day. I mean, in Vancouver as an example, you have so much beautiful nature around. And when you're out in nature and you get your body moving, what happens is when you get your body moving, the endorphins increase and the lymph starts flowing and you start feeling more alive rather than like a sedentary, like that little poo emoji. A lot of people sort of feel like that a lot.
I can't believe we're wrapping this up with the poo emoji.
Highly appropriate.
Thank you so much, Dr. Heer. It's great to have you back in Vancouver.
Thank you, TJ.
Hopefully you're inspired to bring some romance back into your relationship. I'd love to hear how it goes for you on Twitter.